He just straight up was acting as the head of state, recognizing right from wrong, and also telling American soldiers that they don't have a duty to obey orders if those orders are unlawful. That is the truth. That is a part of the American rule book, by the way. The only reason why Trump came out of nowhere and decided that Portland has to be tackled with the military is because they just don't like Portland. Anyway, I'm not going to watch the entire Petro speech, but he's been going boss mode and beast mode. If we're keeping it a $150 here, we're keeping it real. He is my goat, my small king, okay? My short king. And he went maybe a little too beast mode, as a matter of fact. So much so that he got his visa revoked by the Department of Homeland Security, which is interesting. I mean, he's here for the United Nations. Like, I don't think you can do the United Nations if you're just going to be like, hey, sorry, the things that you're saying as a world leader at the UN, we don't actually appreciate, so we're just going to kick you out. Like, that's kind of wild. That's a wild thing to do. And it's also additionally wild because they won't exercise his power on Benjamin Netanyahu. America is supposed to be the leader of the free world, right? And there are these institutions that we have designed, that we've played a formative role in the design of, and the enforcement mechanisms that we control, that we just refuse to actually abide by, specifically when it comes to Israel, right? And it's been a rather interesting thing to watch. Anyway, here is my goat, Colombia president, just going nutty mode. Let's take a look.
Se responde hablando. Se responde saliendo a la calle y cada vez más. Y se responde con armas.
We have to answer in the streets. We have the answer with the words. And we have the...
Los neonazis genocidas deben ser juzgados hoy. I don't know what that means, but
answer with the weapons.
Sounds good to me.
Y por tanto hay que configurar un ejército más poderoso que el de los Estados Unidos e Israel juntos.
That's why we need to create an army bigger than the army of Israel plus the army of USA.
No tengo nada contra el pueblo judío ni contra el pueblo de Israel. Varios son amigos míos.
I don't have anything against the Jew people or against the Israeli people. Some of them are my friends.
Pero igual nos entrenamos muy jóvenes con combatientes de la Organización Liberal Palestina en los desiertos de Libia y sabemos de su lucha desde hace mucho tiempo, cuando existía el movimiento 19 de abril que fue solidario con Palestina, con el Congreso Nacional Africano, con el Frente Polisario siempre.
We received a training with the Palestinian Liberation Organization years ago. We were part of the M19, a guerrilla movement in Colombia. We were solidarity with the Polisario Front and another struggles.
Y por eso hice la siguiente propuesta. Por Asamblea General de los Pueblos en las Naciones Unidas, vamos a presentar una resolución que diga que se ordena a las Naciones Unidas la configuración de un ejército de la salvación del mundo que tiene como primera tarea liberar a Palestina.
Oh, come on. We skipped the last part. Anyway, he said we need to create an army. One of the high notes in this is, and yes, Roger Waters was there in the corner as well, right behind him. My goats. We need to create an army bigger than Israel's, and we have to respond with a war, he said. And I think that's beast mode, okay? That's beast mode. Listen, some people are out there unafraid to raise the temperature a little bit on this issue, and it's good because it will, as I've said, make the liberal side that is reluctant to even talk about these sorts of things a little bit more, like, this kind of stuff, this kind of language, while many people will say is crazy, right? It's radical, but it's good because it urges people to, it gets people to recognize the urgency. That's number one. It expands the permission structure, number two. And last but not least, it makes the quiet people actually come out and at the very least say something. You know, for those who are on the streets that are talking about Israel, that simply stay at this is Benjamin Netanyahu's war, they now have to push further to the left and say, this isn't just Benjamin Netanyahu's war, this is Israel's war. For those who recognize that the Israeli society broadly is perfectly on board with this kind of sentiment, they now have to reckon with the reality that perhaps this is a matter of Zionism being a fascist ideology. And for those who recognize that Zionism is a fascist ideology, well, for them, this gives them the courage to take direct action. So usually that's how it works. It ranges from people like myself all the way down to like hanger-ons who are maybe even worried about their careers, like Jennifer Lawrence. This doesn't mean that there is going to be actual military intervention in Israel. Obviously, it's a nuclear armed state. That's not happening anytime soon, right? But when you have more people demanding things like this, it causes America to also recalculate. Recalculate is its allegiances, especially when the middle moves to the left because of the courage that they receive. There is never a moment where someone sees someone so radical, right, and goes, okay, these guys are too crazy for me. I'm out. I'm actually pro-Israel now. It doesn't work that way. That's what a lot of people think because they're already pro-Israel. They're just too ashamed of admitting it, okay? Anyway, this was funny, though. Earlier today, Colombian President Petro Gustavo stood on a New York City street and urged U.S. soldiers to disobey orders and incite violence. We will revoke Petro's visa due to his reckless and incendiary actions. Whoa, buddy, Seamus says. You're not allowed to go to other countries and incite their people to action. Only American diplomats can do that. And not only that, but also, I don't even think this is a one-to-one comparison with what Petro was doing. Petro wasn't inciting action in the way that like an American diplomat that's actually a CIA agent tries to invoke like a color revolution or whatever. He just straight up was acting as the head of state, recognizing right from wrong, and also telling American soldiers that they don't have a duty to obey orders if those orders are unlawful. That is the truth. That is a part of the American rule book, by the way. For those of you who do not know, and I'm sure there's plenty of military members in here, active duty and former veterans as well, you literally don't have to follow rules that are illegal, okay? They will court-martial you. You will lose your job. You might even be thrown in prison for an extended period of time. But once the legal process goes through, you will be found totally innocent. Like if your commanding officer issues an unlawful order, you have no obligation to follow through on it. Like, for example, if tomorrow, former veterans, yeah, you know what I mean, former active duty veterans, okay, shut up. If tomorrow, let's say Pete Kegstand calls all the generals over and he gives them this like incredible speech and he tells them, you don't have to do this thing, you go to jail. Wait, what? No. I'm saying in the worst instance, like you get court-martialed, you might even be jailed for a brief period of time, but it's still better than participating in a genocide, for example. And many people have done that. Also, anyway, Pete Kegstand brings all the generals over, let's say, and he's like, we're going to do the Crusades. Look at my tattoo. Isn't it cool? We're warrior culture, you know? And then he's like, we're going to war for Israel. If your commanding officers also lead you to do that and you say, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not following this order, especially by the numbers. If you did like an officer's mutiny or something, like, yes, initially you will be, in the interim, you might get criminal punishments within the military courts, but it's far better for you to It's far better for you to disobey in advance than to participate in a genocide. It's morally right, and history will absolve you. History will vindicate you 100%. Yeah, and also there is at least some semblance of fairness in the legal structure that exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the rules, you know? Yeah. Military oath is to obey all lawful orders. Disobedience of illegal orders are a part of that oath. Okay? You are under no obligation to obey an unlawful order. Remember that. 100%. Military personnel, and I will repeat this over and over again. Military personnel are not required to follow illegal orders. Okay? The United States boldly broke with the ancient military custom of swearing loyalty to a leader. Article 6 required that American officers thereafter swear loyalty to our basic law, the Constitution. While many other nations have suffered military coups, the United States never has. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that, should orders in the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. Many other nations have adopted our principle of loyalty to the basic law. What makes an order illegal? I don't know. Go kill these like children prisoners of war. That is an unlawful order. You are under no obligation to follow said order. That's it. That's a huge thing in the U.S. military, by the way. I mean, you'll still get punished for it in the interim, but it won't be permanent. Just something to remember for many of you. And before people say easier said than done, dog, you're already in the military. What do you mean? Your life is already dog shit. Okay, you get thrown in the brig for like a couple weeks maximum, okay? Unless they execute you. No, that's not how this works. Oh no, dude. Like, yeah, there is a due process as it stands, okay? I'm saying worst case scenario, it's still better than mutilating children. The point is, when you're in the military, you already exhibit a level of courage, right? You signed on to do battle. You signed on and you signed up to potentially get shot at. Okay, so you already have like a pre-existing level of courage built in to the structure of the military that you have to basically abide by, in which case it should be a much easier decision to just be like, at worst, I go to prison for a little bit. What you saying? The U.S. military won't execute disobedient people? Just don't go to the military, Unc? Dog, that's my first position first and foremost. I'm just simply speaking to the people that are already in. I feel like that's pretty clear, don't you think? This has never been and never will be one of those leftist communities that says automatically, if you're active duty, if you're in the military, you, this is a troop exploder stream, that type of shit. Like, I don't do that. I've never done that, and I will never do that. I think it's probably outside of like automatically shitting on religion. I would say that's the second dumbest way to organize. Okay? There's two things that I think leftist groups do with regular frequency that is not only incredibly off-putting, but is also really bad for bringing larger numbers to a cause. And it is, one, like, I shit on the actions of the military. Of course, I'm an anti-imperialist. But having said that, I don't immediately assume that just because someone's a veteran, they're a dog shit, war criminal, monster, whatever. And I think leftists should not do that either. Especially because, dude, you have to, no matter what happens, you have to understand, especially if you are already in the United States of America, like, our starting position is endlessly hypocritical, endlessly fortunate, as opposed to someone in the global South. And therefore, especially when you got a dude who's like from a poor family or whatever, because I've met so many veterans who have radical politics now, radical leftist politics, who are anti-war veterans, who have seen it in action, who have participated in these acts of violence, who are destroyed by it, and then realize that this was all for naught, and spend every waking moment fighting against that to ensure others don't fall into the same trap. But our starting position is already so fortunate that like it's a little bit hypocritical for us to automatically go, well, I didn't have to go. You know, I didn't ever feel the need, or I didn't actually get duped or something. So I'm better than you. I'm morally better than you. As long as someone's current opinions are in the correct direction, as long as someone is leading with empathy first politics, and they are trying to offer some kind of restitution for what they've done in the past, then it's, you know, I don't have a problem with that. Vincente, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Especially because you are quite literally, you don't, listen, you're literally dropping a massive, massive opportunity when you do that, okay? Other veterans in this community will probably agree with this, but like, think about it. A bunch of dumb dickheads from like Iowa that have never thought about anything, that have never had any sort of organizational structure in their lives, all of a sudden are due to the poverty draft or due to one reason or another, finding themselves in this like massive jobs program. And in the aftermath of like all of the like the basic training and the actions that they engage in, especially if they go on tour, if they're active duty, they come back and they're like, this shit sucks. That's an opportunity ripe for radicalization in the appropriate direction, as opposed to just being like, you're a war criminal, f*** you. You know? In any case, it doesn't matter. Many of the people are just on the logistics sides anyway. It's just like a massive jobs program. I wish that it was a jobs program that focused on building bridges and shit instead of just, you know, murdering children. But regardless, when a lot of people are in this system, it opens their eyes up to said reality.
What motivated?
Here, yeah, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. I just don't think it's like a smart strategic decision to automatically oppose people. But that's just not who I am anyway. Like when I see someone from Israel, I don't immediately assume that they're going to be like super invested, hyper Zionist. I just don't. Until people show you who they are, don't make any assumptions. That's the appropriate thing to do.
Did you to enlist?
Poverty. I joined the Army because of poverty. You know, the number one recruitment tool of the United States military is to go to...
Have you not seen the polls? I have. It still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter. I never will, and I will never do that. It doesn't matter. I have seen it. Overwhelming majority of Jewish Israelis love what Israel's doing, okay, in Gaza. And still, I'm not going to automatically start with that, okay? I'm not going to automatically start with that assumption. Obviously, you can very quickly figure it out. Yeah, remember what Norm said about his parents? Not the same, of course, but about Germans? Yeah, I know. Except even in that conversation, Norm Finkelstein understands that like it's kind of up that his parents feel that way. It's more so an understanding of what they've gone through. You do realize that, right? Because in that story that he describes, he's talking about a German friend of his that he is bringing home to his parents. Like, the point is, it's still not the best idea to automatically assume that that someone that you're talking to, even from an in-group that's like overwhelmingly in favor of this like incredibly f***ed up thing, you shouldn't have your starting position be this assumption. And there are obviously going to be instances where that leads to that unwinds and leads to failure down the line. I mean, come on, you know that. I'm just giving you my perspective. You can tell me that you can sit here and explain to me how combative you are to every single person, but I think it's important not to be that way, especially because it's good to always operate under the assumption that you can change people's minds by communicating with them, by getting them to understand your worldview. And that's how you bring more reliable allies on your side.
Impoverished areas and offer things that America doesn't offer you, like healthcare, housing, income, stability. We offer our soldiers socialism to go abroad and defend capitalism. And I was too poor to say no. I was in the Army from 2001 to 2014, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, both theaters. I got out of the military 7 years short of a 20-year career, and that doesn't happen that much. And the reason I did is because the longer I was in the military and the more I saw what America did abroad and what we were really, our true motivations were, it made me realize that America was not on the right path. And I would talk to Iraqis and say, hey, why do you hate America so much? And they would say, you invaded our country, you blew our neighborhoods up. Started realizing, shit, maybe we're the bad guys. So, coming back home.
Like, the easiest thing to say to this guy is to basically be like, wow, well, I didn't have to join the military to see that. You, right? I mean this sincerely. I think it's because I'm Turkish and not from, like, I didn't grow up in America that I don't have such a hardline stance on people like this. I don't know. Like, people in America will oftentimes be like, well, tell that to a guy who was victim to this kind of violence. Like, tell that to a Iraqi person. But I feel like people over there are way more chill about, like, even veterans that have done horrible shit that, like, understand that it was up and are actually actively working against it. You know what I mean? It's more so like the more like aggro stance often comes from like Americans that want to feel a sense of like moral superiority. It's at the heart of like purity politics in some ways. It masquerades as like an act of self-defense and solidarity, but dude, I can't believe it. Someone came in and did this shit. That's so funny. Remember we were talking about this earlier? Like, some dude tuned in on mobile and at that time I had 6K viewers when he first tuned in. So like almost an hour ago. He tuned in almost an hour ago. Waited for like, holy shit, I'm kidding, Lamau. Oh, okay. All right. Well, some people do that unironically. The thing is, if you're American and haven't joined the military, you're still profiting off the military actions and still complicit. I mean, that's irrelevant. That's not even the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, yeah, people do up shit. You have to focus on rehabilitation. You have to always, as your first principle, you have to believe that people have the capacity to change and learn from their actions and demonstrate the capacity to change. You have to give them the space to be able to do so. And it certainly requires a level of acceptance that I think a lot of Americans just don't have. They're so draconian. Cancel culture is a part of it. Purity politics is a part of it. And it also even extends all the way to our criminal justice system. Like, as someone who believes in criminal justice reform, I'm firmly committed to this cause that people, no matter how heinous their crimes may be, especially if they're a product of the system that they were born into, that they have the capacity to change. That's it.
Getting off the Kool-Aid and realizing what my country really is, which is a place where white supremacy has never been held accountable. White supremacy is the root of this whole thing, and it's never been held accountable. There's never been a time where we corrected the wrongs of white supremacy. And so we're taught from a young age to put our hand over our heart and declare our allegiance to a flag, but that flag never declares its allegiance back. In a relationship where love is only sent one way, that's toxic. If my own child was in a relationship and they loved their significant other, but their significant other ignored them, wouldn't provide them housing, wouldn't take them to the hospital when they were sick, wouldn't feed them when they were hungry, wouldn't let them in when they were cold, then I would tell my child to get the hell out of this toxic relationship. But yet here in America, we're told to stay in that relationship because that's patriotism. Patriotism is demanding better of your country. And where we're at now is where America was always heading because we chose not to hold white supremacy to account and because we chose not to provide the most basic needs of a society.
Iraqi Wizard says, I've spoken to soldiers when I was young. Most literally said they regret their choice or how they felt bad that America is invading. I always found it odd how honest some of them were. Yeah, dude. I mean, obviously, you're still the primary victim in that situation because that there and he's got a gun, you know what I mean? And he can kill you and get away with it. So obviously, it's ridiculous, but yeah. Check logs. Good story about meeting an Israeli. I was out flying from Palestine. An Israeli showed up and told me he was Israeli, and I immediately thought I'd get abused by him. And we proceeded to have a convo about what up the IDF does, and he regrets what he did. I tried to get him into activism. He wasn't really up for it, but I'm glad that I gave him a chance. Yeah, this isn't Jewish exceptionalism before people freak out, okay? This is understanding. This is understanding that every little bit helps. Always remember that, okay? It's quite difficult to go up against these incredibly cruel systems that have been designed to normalize this kind of violence, okay? There's no recognition from politicians. There's no real democratic process. If you understand that, then you understand that in order for change to happen, you need every person you can get on board. You just got to chip away at it every single day. That's why I don't immediately cast people aside. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm going to be a sucker, right? Like, this charitability doesn't extend to people who are malicious actors. It doesn't. But I do have to, I wait a little bit to see, to read the room, to see how someone behaves. This is, Hasan, you sound so scared of your chat. This is one of my favorite idiotic terms that I hear in the chat. It's like, I yell at my chat all the time, dumbass. Shut the up. There has never been a moment where it's not my way or the highway. Like, people come in here and they go, oh, you're worried about how your community is going to react if you say something or do something. It's like, no, I'm not. That's why there's unlimited clip compilations of me yelling at people who are woke of the day, for example. Doing it right now, as a matter of fact.
And so when this is over, we can't go back to the status quo.
Anyway, just we took a sidestep there, but just a reminder, if you're active duty, you have no obligation to follow an unlawful order. It is literally something that you do not have to do. Anyway, Sam Husseini, my goat, he is a journalist. He says, Petro's speech is getting far too little attention, including in the left media. It was deeply humanistic. Here's one component from the speech. Let's take a look. He says, there's no superior race. There is no chosen people of God. It is neither the United States nor Israel. The chosen people of God is all of humanity. That's what he said. For every one soldier, there's like this. There's like four like this that brag about kicking kids in Afghanistan. The first time Fred kicked a kid in Afghanistan, he pointed an imaginary AK at me. No chocolate for him. Wait, what? Yeah, bro, there's psychos. Remember, dude, chatter. Remember, this is the American military we're speaking of, okay? Which means it's going to be very diverse, and it is going to have a multitude of different opinions, okay, within each person who's serving. And there's gonna be some freaks, dude. Of course. I never said that there aren't freaks. Yeah, there's degrees to this shit. That's why I don't have a issue shitting on veterans, okay? This is something I talk about all the time. On the one hand, like I said, I don't automatically assume that just because someone's a veteran that they're like a war criminal, monstrous piece of shit and their worldview is awful or whatever. But I also don't do the opposite either. Because on the opposite end of the spectrum, you got those who just do that like aesthetic posturing where it's like, thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for defending my free speech. Like, I don't do any of that shit either. Okay? I don't do any of that shit either. You know this. I mean, there's one veteran with an eye patch that I talked big shit about, if you recall, in a very famous incident that got me in a lot of trouble at the time, okay? Calm down. You just got to treat people like people, okay? That's my point. My point is, no, not Big Boss, not my goat, not Iroquois Pliskin, Big Boss, Snake. I'm talking about the loser with the eye patch. I would never talk shit on Big Boss. Okay? Hassan was a Trump supporting idiot, and I checked out your content out of pure curiosity, and now I'm the loudest Marxist-Leninist of my family. Thanks, King. Hell yeah. Did you see Theo Von say Free Palestine? Theo Von's been saying Free Palestine, bro. Iroquois Pliskin is his son. Yes. Solid Snake. I was born in Israel. I served in the army, and only a few months before 7/10, I started watching your stream. It was only thanks to you I changed my mind and became an anti-Zionist. See, there you go. Anyway, where the fuck were we? So yeah, we got Petro, my goat. We'll talk about Laura Loomer as well. But first and foremost, breaking news. This administration is so incredibly invested in relitigating old wounds. Okay? They are so unimaginably invested in relitigating old liberal wounds, old grievances that they have from the first administration, that they're just having this like incredibly broad loyalty pledge that ends up attacking a shit ton of liberals. Okay? Which I will recognize, I will admit, and I don't really know if I should even be saying this out loud. This is good because they're not making a distinction between like radical elements or anything like that. They're just straight up saying, if you've demonstrated basic empathy, you're our op, you're our enemy. If you say, racism is wrong, you're our op, you're our enemy. And this causes them to go after less vulnerable targets, if that makes sense. This is so stupid. Like we're in an unprecedented crisis of credibility for the FBI. You got Kash Patel running the show. It's a clown show. Okay? And now, not only has the government, under the direct orders of Donald Trump, indicted former FBI Director Jim Comey for literally nothing. Okay? It's very silly. Previous prosecutor said, I can't find anything that's prosecutable. What do you want me to do? Donald Trump fired him, put in a different person in his place, and then she dropped a case on Jim Comey like 4 days after she took over the role, right? It's so funny that is where these guys are at. So, number one, they did this shit. The FBI's fired agents photographed kneeling during the 2020 racial justice protests. And number two, they're going after Portland, Oregon. Now, the reason why I think this is funny, and the reason why I'm saying this has nothing to do with like current needs, right? Like they're not even trying to manufacture a crisis and then try to tackle that crisis militarily. They're just going after Portland because Portland has been an unhealed wound in the minds of national conservatives. They just constantly pointed to Portland. Portland's always on fire. Portland is out of control. Portland's going crazy. We got to do something about it. And Donald Trump did in 2020. He literally sent BORTAC units, the SWAT team basically, for ICE, to go to the streets of Portland and black bag people, okay? Just like literally apprehend them in the streets in unmarked vans with military gear. They did that, okay? But Portland right now, there's nothing going on. Like, yeah, there's protests, right? There's ongoing protests against ICE, but it's happening in every city. Like, there's nothing particularly unpleasant that's taking place in Portland currently that isn't taking place everywhere else, from Illinois to Los Angeles, in Chicago to Los Angeles, to many other parts of the country where there are ICE apprehensions taking place. The only reason why he just came out of nowhere and decided that Portland has to be tackled with the military is because they just don't like Portland. That's it. It's just Portland is like a symbol for what conservatives despise about their neighbors and their politics. Okay. Also, doesn't this feel like a distraction, or am I tweaking? No, these are not distractions. If it's an actual if it's an actual initiative by the federal government to like exercise military power over certain areas that they just don't like because of the politics demonstrated by said areas, then it's not a distraction. That is the main course, okay? That is the actual event. This is the actual event, okay? And here we are. We're obviously going to talk about the new NSPM 7 labels, common beliefs as terrorism indicators. It's just like anti-capitalism, anti-fascism, things of that nature. Basically, you know, whatever you hear at the Hasanabi broadcast is now considered a terrorism indicator. Wonderful. Anyway, let's take a look.
Here to live now from Fox, we do have some breaking news for you. We're learning here that President Trump is going to be sending troops to Portland, Oregon. Here's what we're learning. He said today he's going to send those troops there to handle, quote, domestic terrorists as he expands his deployments to more American cities. He made the announcement on social media, and we're going to share that post here with you right now. Let's read it. It says, at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I'm also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This just coming out on Truth Social moments ago. President Trump said the decision, as you just heard there, was necessary to protect U.S. immigration and customs enforcement facilities, which he described as under siege from attack. Now, since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, President Trump has escalated his efforts to confront what he calls the, quote, radical left, which he blames for the country's problems with political violence. Earlier in September, President Trump had described living in Portland as, quote, like living in hell, and said he was considering sending in federal troops, as he has recently threatened to do, to combat crime in other cities, including Chicago and Baltimore. He deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles over the summer and as part of his law enforcement takeover in the District of Columbia. In Tennessee, Memphis has been bracing for an influx of National Guard troops. And just yesterday, Republican Governor Bill Lee said they will be part of a surge of resources to fight crime in the city. So once again, we are learning more about this here as this did just come into our newsroom. If there's any more developments, we're going to bring them to you here on Live Now from Fox.
Portland is being invaded by the United States of America. There it is, folks. There you have it. Pentagon officials don't know what full force means. This full force language is not a term commonly used in the Pentagon. No clarity on whether this means active duty troops or National Guard involved. No clarity on whether Trump intends to invoke the Insurrection Act despite the lack of any kind of major rebellion. Pentagon officials, according to Dan Lamothe, who does military affairs at Washington Post, Pentagon officials are seeking clarity on what President Trump means with this post about military forces going into Portland. They have no information to provide at the moment. At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I'm directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I'm also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for attention to this matter. The less popular that they get in the eyes of the population, the more aggressive they get. Okay? Like, people are like, hey, man, we don't like this. Can you fix the grocery prices, please? The more people go, dude, what is this? What is going on? I don't like this. Please fix the housing crisis. The more they go, oh, do you want you want me to be more aggressive? That's what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing from you that you want me to kill people in Portland with the military. Oh, you want to kill American citizens with the American military as a domestic police force. Got it. That's what you want. It seems like that's the command here. That's what you wanted from me, and that's what you're going to get. Now, this is the reason why I was stressing the importance of not following an unlawful order if you are active duty. Just something to consider. Okay? It is literally in your oath. You pledge an oath to the Constitution. You do not, under any circumstance, have to follow unconstitutional and unlawful orders. Okay? Brother, you must be the most vindicated man on this planet. Wallah. Yeah, but it doesn't feel good because there is no cause to celebrate because I'm always predicting the worst shit happening. So when the worst shit does inevitably happen, there is no moment where you go, well, I told you. There's no I told you so moment. In any case, put that jacket on purpose. It's a Ralph Lauren jacket. But yeah, Antifa Brigadier Commander at your service. Here it is. Anyway, I guess we can celebrate their incompetence overall. Once again, they are still trying, but this does actually make their efforts. This actually does harm their efforts in general, I think. Because, like, I try to imagine what a competent administration would do in this moment. And I think first they would have to do like a psyop. You know what I mean? Maybe even multiple false flag attacks or something to just like present an imminent threat. Because right now there isn't a lot of appetite for this kind of action by the broader public. Of course, there's this kind of action. There's appetite for this kind of action from like really, really hardline conservative areas that have like imagined a universe where Portland is on fire and they need to be punished by death by the American military so we can like stamp out any sort of like liberalism and leftism that is an imminent threat. But those numbers are not consequential enough. They're not big enough. And even those people will lose their appetite once they see it in action. Here, my Antifa commander hat. I'm going to go to prison, dude. I keep this shit up. I'm going to prison, dog. That's what's going to happen. Need a metal rack like Marshall Zukov to complete the outfit. Roll up to the White House asking what you're going to do for some lubrication around here. Anyway.
And we continue to follow our breaking news. Just a short time ago, President Trump announcing on Truth Social that he is sending troops to Portland, Oregon to protect ICE facilities. Now, Portland is just the latest Democratic-run city that the president has either sent or threatened to send troops to in his growing crackdown on immigration and on crime. CNN's Kevin Liptak joins us now from the White House. Kevin, tell us, what more have you been learning about these latest developments here?
Yeah, and there's no question this is an escalation in the president's push to deploy the U.S. military on domestic soil. It follows this pattern. We saw it in Los Angeles. We saw it here in Washington, D.C. If the president choosing Democrat-led cities and states to make this push and really kind of pushing the boundaries of the use on domestic soil of the U.S. military. The president writing on Truth Social this morning that at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, there are a lot of unanswered questions here. One is the timeline, when exactly we would see these troops arrive into Oregon. We also don't know what types of troops the president is talking about here, whether it's National Guard, whether it's active duty military, and we don't know exactly what legal authorities the president will be relying on, because remember, under law, it sharply limits the use of U.S. troops for domestic law enforcement purposes, and this has really kind of prompted a legal debate after the president did this in other cities around the country. Now, Portland has seen a number of protests around an ICE facility that's about 2 miles south of the downtown. They have been mostly peaceful.
For the record, this will turn into like the goal here is to develop so much resentment and foment so much discontent as a reaction to this ridiculous initiative that it does escalate. This is a provocation. Make no mistake, this is 100% clear-cut a provocation. Mr. President, read the Constitution. The function of the U.S. military is to protect us from foreign enemies, not Portland, Oregon. In this country, we have local and state police for law enforcement, not federal troops. Stop deploying the U.S. Army against Americans. I don't think Americans are going to like this. No matter how much smoke have for Portland, like with the exception of like maybe 20% of Trump's base, there are 100% people that were in the military in the past, people that are still in the military, people that have family members that are in the military that are going to look at this and be like, all right, dude, what the fuck are we doing? Dial it back. The only people that will get excited at this is going to be a marginal part of Trump's base. And he doesn't have support to lose right now. I think this chips away at his approval rating. I think this chips away at his approval rating pretty significantly. This is, again, an overreaction from an administration that is fearful. This is an overreaction from an administration that recognizes that they're kind of weak. Why would they care? What do you mean? This is the type of shit that like Americans still care about. Like Americans care about the military. Like the average Americans, they think like, oh yeah, the military is like protecting us, you know, from foreign enemies. Like that's the goal. Like when they do stuff like this, it kind of betrays. They care about the optics. It betrays the fundamental reason for why the military exists. You know, in their minds, it's like they don't have to think about what the military is doing in Iraq, but like in their minds, there is like there's this idea that like at least they're doing like they're doing it to protect us, right? It's a false notion, regardless, but like they believe it anyway. Foreign and domestic, dumbass. Yeah, except when it's domestic, it's not Portland, Oregon on a regular Tuesday. That's not what that means. It's literally unconstitutional without an insurrection taking place, which is ironic that Donald Trump is doing it, but I'm not going to get too far into that part too. But like it's ridiculous to be like, I've just decided I'm invading Portland with the military because I'm bored. Okay? Do you understand how stupid that is? I mean, it's stupid. It's so stupid that even the dumbest American will look at that and go, this is a little crazy. I can't see this. I can't see this going well for Donald Trump. I haven't been wrong so far. So we'll see. I think his disapproval dips even further after this.
But there have been some violent clashes that have led to injuries for federal officers. It's led to arrests.
They did it to LA and his base didn't care. You're wrong. You're wrong. It slowly but surely makes this a story. LA was the beginning. Then he did it to DC. Then he tried to do it to Chicago. There was a lot of pushback. So he's like, all right, we'll scale back from Chicago. Every single time he does this, there are more and more people that go, what the f- are we doing? Do you understand? Like every single time he does this, there are more people that go, this is objectively unserious. Liberals look at it and go, okay, there is a severe crisis here. We have to take to the streets. Apolitical people go, what the f- are we doing? This is so insincere. This is so silly. It's the same reason why they look at like Kash Patel leading the FBI and go, I don't trust this institution anymore. It doesn't seem like there are serious people in charge. That's what the apolitical people are seeing when they look at this. And the more these kinds of images take place all around the country, the more discontent grows.
Of some of the protesters. At one point, a guillotine was erected outside the building to Homeland.
Trust me, we all love it, dumbass. As a vet, we love it. Trust me, we all love it. Y'all's approval rating. Who's y'all, first of all? Are you talking about me? Because I'm not a representative of the Democratic Party. As a matter of fact, I am very angry at the Democratic Party. I'm on the disapproval side on the Democratic Party. And everyone in my community is on the side that disapproves of the Democratic Party, which is why it's down to 30%. I think the faster you socialist. Yeah, I think the faster you snap out of this like left-right dichotomy that you exist under and then realize that like I care more about policies than anything else. I care more about like the legislative agenda than anything else. I care more about making sure that you get proper health care, for example. than anything else, the faster you will be able to understand what I'm talking about here. I don't really give a shit about any of these things. I don't care about the Democratic Party. I don't defend it unconditionally. Okay? As a matter of fact, I'm very critical of the Democratic Party. But I do like that you're generalizing all vets and like, as a vet, we love it. All the vets, all the vets in my gun club love it. We're all divorced dads with nothing else going on in our lives. So we think when the government is behaving in this way, no, the faster you stop bitching and leave to the UK to live in a socialism life, you'll be happy. He said the UK, he said I need to escape this country and go to the UK to experience socialism. Oh, brother. If only you knew. I do believe this guy's a vet, though, for sure, because he is so stupid. Remember when I said not all vets are equal? Okay, not all vets are the same. And that I don't automatically shit on vets across the board, but I do when they explain to me that they're a dumb. This is the dumb that I was talking about. Crayon eating moron. Yeah, you socialist. I bet you'd love socialism in the United Kingdom. This is, by the way, this is the reason why when you go to basic training, one of the first things they teach you is how to wash yourself, okay? How to brush your teeth. You might be like, what the f***? That's what they teach? Yeah, dude, it's for this clown ass. And he still didn't learn, okay? All right. This guy's awesome. You're dope, chatter. Twizzy210.
Security Department said at the time that that was unhinged behavior. And we've also seen President Trump talk about this city over the last week. He said on Thursday in the Oval Office that we're going to get out there. He said, quote, we're going to do a pretty big number on those people in Portland. He called them professional agitators and anarchists. And you saw in his Truth Social post today referencing Antifa, the president has taken steps this week to label that group a terrorist organization. Now, leaders in Portland have made pretty clear that they are not welcoming federal intervention. The mayor said this week that, like mayors across the country, I have not asked for and do not need federal intervention. That's the mayor, Keith Wilson. We've also heard from leaders in the city and state just last.
He's a Kai Cenat fan who also he's a Big Dog is a Kai Cenat fan who also happens to be replying to people about how George Floyd was a scumbag. Bro, he's a child. He's not a child. He's a boomer, I think. God, if the mind of some people fascinate me, dude. That's awesome. Like in between replying to people about how George Floyd was a scumbag, he was a drug addict, he's like, hell yeah, Castanet reached 240,000 subscribers. I love that. That's my goat right there. Oh, yeah. This is what I voted for. Hell yeah. Look, he just keeps reposting Kai Cenat. That's all his output is. That's probably why he's on Twitch. He's like, I love Kai Cenat and I love the Donald Trump administration killing my enemies, domestic and foreign. Yo, this guy is awesome. He's posting W or L chat in the Kai Cenat chat to like 12-year-olds while simultaneously talking about how the American military has to start killing these goddamn radical Antifa. Respect. You know the failed the ASVAB, okay? Didn't even his score was 1.
last night as it seemed clear that this was happening. Listen to some of what they said.
I am sick and tired of watching the people in my community getting brutalized because they are immigrants or because they dare to speak up. I am sick and tired of it, and I'm tired of your lip service. Show up and do something!
Boy, I share their frustration. We're trying to use every power we have.
Wait, you found
as
his logs
the
in
federal
Kai's chat?
team. Obviously, we're in the minority.
Badass little kid. Toe to phone. Give Toe to his phone. Coach racist. Racist coach. Got timed out. Feet, toes, dogs out. Feet out, toes. You racist. Nah, f that. Shit up, bitch. Kai racist. Kai racist. Racist. Sure, you pussy. Kai racist. On God, I would have beat your ass. You lucky it wasn't me. Hey, yo. Wait, is he still in here? I love this guy. Oh my God, this is my new favorite chatter, man. Oh my God. Oh, hell yeah. That's a child, dude. Come on. No, I don't think that's a child. I don't think this is a child at all. I think this is a whole ass adult who behaves like a child online, but you think a 12-year-old gives a fuck about George Floyd one way or another? What are you, crazy? No, this is like a 40-year-old, most likely Hispanic, Iraq war veteran, okay? That's like, in my mind, that's the profile. Anyway, respect to this guy, though, for sure. Keep scrolling. I'm invested now. Remember 9/11? Charlie Kirk. Fortnite. Charlie. Long live Charlie Kirk. Wait, what? He's English? Okay, maybe he's not Hispanic. I was wrong. How does that? Wait, what? I don't know. Why isn't he responding? Chatter. Wait, is he like a British guy LARPing as an American soldier online? Oh my God. He's a 11-month subscriber too. He says Twizzy210 subscribed to tier 1. They've subscribed for 11 months. Apologize to his Hispanics. Well, I just thought from the photo I saw. Oh my God, is that like a British? What is this? This is the Hodge twins. Here's his tweet. It's insane. Where'd he go? Why isn't he responding? I wish he wasn't so shy. Come back, dude. We love you. Actually, I do. I unironically love you. His Twitch bio says he's the Hispanic Queso. Oh my God. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're back. Clocked him. Don't play with me. Don't play with me, dude. Don't play with me. Don't do it. I wish he was still in here. God damn it. He's a Hispanic Englishman? No, you can't be both. Is one of the biggest L's for the UK is like the significant lack of Hispanic people, Latino people as a whole. That's like, you immediately feel that in the air. When you land in the UK, that's like one of the first things you recognize, especially if you're like from Los Angeles. You feel it. You feel it in every street corner. You feel it with the food. Straight up. It's a big L. Anyway, let's get back to this.
So you also heard Jeff Merkley and other officials there say essentially, don't take the bait, raising the prospect that sending these troops into Portland could be essentially an effort to try and goad them into conflict. And so it will be very interesting to see how this plays out over the coming days, over the coming week, just as we learn more about what specifically this federal intervention might look like, Danny.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Appreciate you breaking that down for us, Kevin. Thank you.
We're witnessing a new era of political violence. Assassins have tried to murder President Trump twice and tried to kill Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. In Minnesota, legislators and even children attending Mass were gunned down in cold blood in 2 separate incidents. And an assassin targeted and murdered our friend Charlie Kirk. A sniper shot 3 people at a Texas ICE facility, and now more than 200 violent rioters were at a Chicago ICE facility chanting, "Arrest ICE, shoot ICE." At least one had a gun. We've seen this before. We saw it in Portland and with the LA riots. These are not peaceful protests. These are coordinated attacks by radical extremists, and they end now. Anyone who threatens or assaults our federal officers will be arrested and charged federally, not in some liberal state court. Same goes for anyone who's funding and aiding these extremists. You will be dismantled brick by brick. We are taking our country back. Make America safe again.
Hasan Reaction is one of the best ones in the React channel.